The Age of Charlemagne. Okay, so again, Charlemagne is very important because he politically, under his rule as a strong man, essentially, unifies what this part of what we're going to eventually call Europe. So go ahead and put in the tributary people here for right now as well. So Europe was already culturally united, but not politically united. So he's now ruling all of this, and it's not like this area kicks up to this local lord and so on. So he conquers all of them. But what he wants is the blessing, the cultural blessing. And so he's going to get that from the Pope. And so he's going to get crowned, and they're going to call it the Holy Roman Empire. So in the spirit of the Roman Empire, which I mean, it reached up there at times, but really it was more of a thing around the Mediterranean basin. And he wants this because if the spiritual authority here is the same as if you're up in what we would call now France up here somewhere, and you got a church up there. This is what people believe. So if the Pope blesses him, then he doesn't have anywhere, he doesn't have people rising up from time to time, or it tends to, all this tamps down. So he's getting what you call soft power. So can we get the goodwill, in this case, the cultural blessing, the Pope saying it's okay. Okay, cast him as the prototype of the Christian kingship. This, by the way, has parallels in the Old Testament. They're making it out to be like they start this idea here, and that it didn't exist before. It did exist before. So if you go back to David and Samuel in the Bible, this is, David got Samuel. Samuel was the one that said, well, I'm going to anoint you. Okay, so he's from this tribe, so the Carolingian Renaissance is how you would say this. And very learned. Built elaborate monastic complexes. And what's going on in the monastic complexes? Well, Augustinian thought. So the formal stuff as well, all the stuff from the councils, including Nicaea. But how are you really going to learn theology and then be a part of the whole, what does it mean to be a Christian? Who's coming up with this? So lots of different people along the way. I'm not saying that everybody just regurgitated Augustine along the way, but it's kind of like this. When they had the councils, all that stuff was official, but people still have all sorts of questions about, like, well, why did this happen in Genesis? What was God thinking? What was God thinking in this other section? And there weren't official votes on those things. So Augustine of Hippo sort of filled all that in, the intellectual framework. And then other people started from there, sometimes deviated quite a bit, but sometimes filled in more, and so on. So a lot of that would happen at these monastic complexes in terms of thought, thinking, and just the practice of the rise of the Saint Benedictine monasteries around. Okay, in Japan, Buddhism hitting around this time. It's a little bit after this period, but Dogen is a pretty good Zen philosopher, a few hundred years past this time period, if you wanted to present over him. Monastic complex. So the same idea in terms of a monastery now. Church that served as place of worship and as a shrine that housed the sacred relic. So the claim to fame back in the day is there should be some sort of sacred relic to designate this. Medieval, but these are very interesting. By the way, the paper was usually a lot better than our paper today. Sometimes it was skins, right? But they look like this. So it was mostly monks for other monks is what you want to think here. But when they were writing, they would draw in these sometimes elaborate pictures. Sometimes they're in the margins over here, and they're just very interesting visually to look at. And at the time, they read aloud, right? So a monk reading, even by himself, in one of these monasteries would do so aloud. It was relatively modern times before people started reading silently. Oh, so the hand copy, these books, remember all this before the printing press. The printing press is a technology that's going to change things and get it into the people's hands at a time when some of the people, at least in percentage terms, more of people can read than they can in this period. The idea of the novel, right? And probably from Japan. And that's good enough for this one.